We read in the Parsha how Sori Meinu was taken by Avimelech, the Philistine king, and he wanted to take her as a wife and to cohabit with her. And all of a sudden he realized that he wasn't able to, he himself, in the physical sense, Hashem did not allow it to happen. And he had a dream, which was a semi-prophecy, where God says to him, if you don't return this man's wife, you and your whole community will all die. Immediately, next morning, he returned Sari Meinu to Avram, and Avram prayed that he was healed, his community was healed. But the obvious question is, we say in prophecy, Sari Meinu was greater than Avram Avinu. Shema B'kola, listen to her voice, her prophetic voice. The mother of Klal Yisrael, she's a matriarch. How does Hashem allow a woman of this level of kedusha, of holiness, that we cannot even relate to who she was, to be taken by this heathen, this monster, to try to actually to defile her? And he nearly defiled her. And what is a consequence of this? Because soon afterwards, she conceived, and she had Yitzchok. And people began saying, it's not Avram's child, it's Avimelech's child. And there's nothing more disgraceful and painful to hear such a thing being said, that Sari Meinu bore a child from this man, from this so-called this rape, and not from her husband, and will question she may not be the matriarch of Klal Yisrael, and Yitzchok is not the son of Avram. So the Gemara tells us that to address this issue, when Yitzchok was born, he looked identical to his father. Avram Holid Yitzchok. When Yitzchok was born, it was unquestioned that Yitzchok was the son of Avram. The facial features were identical. But why did Hashem even allow it to happen? If actually he had to counter it by bringing about this miracle that Yitzchok looked identical to his father, especially when he became an adult, people couldn't discern and differentiate between Avram and Yitzchok. They would refer to Yitzchok as Master Avram and Avram as Master Yitzchok. And that's why Hashem had to introduce aging within existence, so people should be able to discern between Yitzchok and Avram. Why, if it wouldn't have happened initially, all this would have been necessary. So once said, we find something which seems to be very unusual, that who is the king who threw Avram into the kiln? Nimrod. We find that the day that Nimrod was killed, he was killed by Esav, that was the same day that Avram Avinu passed away. As Chazal tell us, he came Oyif min Asoda. That day he committed murder. He killed Nimrod. He comes home, he sees his brother preparing lentil soup. His face is covered with soot. He says, what happened? He says, Kirenu Mes, our grandfather passed away. It's a little ironic. The man who tried to destroy him, the both of them should pass away on the same day. So we'd explained that who is the counterforce to Nimrod? The counterforce to Nimrod was Avram Avinu. As much as Nimrod was that overwhelmingly influential pagan, Avram himself was no different in the positive side. He was the positive counterforce to the negative. If Nimrod would die and Avram would continue, the world has no bechira. There always has to be a balance, a counterbalance to good and to evil, because otherwise man stands no chance. Therefore, the day that Nimrod dies, Avram passes away that same day, because you cannot leave a world without a Nimrod, with an Avram Avinu. Now we have Yitzchok. Yitzchok is the successor of his father. He represents his father. If Yitzchok would be unquestionably the son of Avram, again, the world has no counterbalance. So therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu allows, for the sake of Bechira, that Sari Menu should be taken and should be a question. But now there's no question. Yitzchok is the son of Avram because his facial features are identical to his father. But factually speaking, people will still ask the question, is it a little unusual? They've been married for years and it happens to be only after she's taken by this heathen does she conceive. I understand he looks like his father, but you never know. The moment that question is asked, immediately Yitzchok is minimized. He may not be the son of Avram. As a result of that, his level of influence on the global level is no longer the same. As a result of that, we can have a counterbalance for Yitzchok. The counterbalance doesn't have to be the equivalent of a Nimrod. It can be lesser than a Nimrod, whatever that counterbalance will be. As a result of this, for the sake of Bechira, that there should be the balance in existence, Hashem allowed this tragedy to take place.